This webinar specifically is going to focus on the new product feed, or what is also known as the new SKU feed. We realize that we have a number of other feeds and other types of features and functionality on the marketplace. However, we'd like to keep all questions and inquiries and things focused on the new product feed. You should all be able to see the Excel template of the new product feed. Some of you may have direct access to your product databases of what you're using database queries to pull that data to create the inventory feed. We provide the Excel sheet or the Excel template of the new product feed for easier data entry for those people who don't want to use database queries or other database languages to create these data feeds. Even though you may not be filling out one of these templates, it's always good to see what the proper order of the type of data that you're using, as well as what is expected for each of the data fields, especially when we reach the attribute data. We'll be going through cell by cell, and we will also be going through categories and the relationships to attributes and attribute values. Okay, we're going to start with the Excel template. As you can see, it has two sections to it. One section is what we call the core data. The second section is called the attribute data. The core data has column titles that are bolded. So it starts with seller ID to the very left in cell A1. It goes all the way to cell R1, which is the product set ID. From S1 all the way down to the right are column titles that are all the attributes that apply to this particular category, which happens to be clothes and shoes. Each template is specific to the category, so if you choose or select different templates or different categories, you'll see that the attributes are going to be different for each of them. There's a very specific web page in which you can get the new product feed information, and I will be emailing this link to everyone. Let me show you what that page looks like, actually. Again, I'm muting everyone's microphones because it causes background noise when everyone's mic is open. So here is the page at which you can get the information regarding the new product feeds. It has some instructional text up towards the top, and it has all the new SKU feed documents broken down by category. Here's clothes and shoes, health and beauty, home and garden, and so forth. Each section has its own documentation, the new product feed specifications, which is what we're going to go through today. We won't actually open up the document because we're going to go cell by cell. There's a new product feed creation guide, which shows you how to fill out just the core data. The attribute data is left out on that particular guide. The next is what is the new product feed template and the category attributes, of which we're going to go into detail today. Again, the new product feed templates and the category attributes are different for each of the categories. So you want to make sure that you're using the appropriate template and category attribute PDF for your particular category. Okay? So again, everyone who is participating today and provided an email address will be getting the link to this page. This page is updated quite often, as you can tell, by the updated timestamp, and it's a good place to come back to see if there have been any updates to your particular category that you want to add your new product to. Okay, let's get back to the template. Again, this is for clothes and shoes, but the concepts will apply to all the other categories. So the first cell is the seller ID, which is an all-numerical field and is required. So if you don't know your seller ID, you can email us at mp-integration@buy.com, or you can simply log into your seller account. When you get into your seller account, the seller ID will be on the upper right-hand corner. Now, each row represents a single product, and each row begins with the seller ID. The next data field is called the GTIN field, and this is where you would put the UPC data or the European equivalent EAN. UPCs are most commonly used here in the United States. It needs to be either 12 or 14 digits in length. No dashes, no slashes, just an all numerical field. If you give us a 10-digit UPC or 11-digit one, it will cause that line to fail. UPCs need to be the very nature of UPCs is uniqueness. So each of your products should have different UPCs. The next field is the ISBN. It does not apply to clothes and shoes. In fact, it doesn't apply to any of our open categories. Books is part of entertainment. The ISBN is the equivalent of a book's UPC. You could leave that field blank. It's not required. Going back to the GTIN field, UPCs are required for most of our categories. There are a couple of exceptions, one of them being clothes and shoes. But most of our other categories do require UPCs. The next field after the ISBN is the MFG name, or what we call the manufacturer name. And it's simply the brand or manufacturer of the product that you are trying to add to our database. Things like Sony, Samsung, Procter & Gamble, Fisher-Price. It's a alphanumeric. Try not to use any special characters like dashes or slashes or ampersands. Try to stick with just alphanumerics. Next field is the manufacturer part number. It's simply the manufacturer part number or the part number of the product that you're trying to sell. Manufacturer part numbers need to be unique in pairing with the manufacturer name. And what does that mean? Well, companies like Sony and Samsung, just as an example, they may use manufacturer part numbers that are all numerical. Let's say Sony has a video game that has a manufacturer part number of 5,000, and Samsung has a television with a manufacturer part number of 5,000. So although the manufacturer part number is not unique across all products, which is almost impossible, the manufacturer part number is unique per the manufacturer name. So what we do is we look at both the manufacturer name and the manufacturer part number to make sure that the part number you gave us is unique across all products within that manufacturer. It's alphanumeric field as well, and it is a required field, as is the manufacturer name. The next field is called the ASIN. It's the Amazon Product Identifier. There is no current functionality behind this data field or this particular piece of data. We are collecting it for future functionality, but currently we do not have any functionality behind it. It is not a required field, so you can leave that field blank. When you come across a field like an ASIN or the ISBN where it is not a required field and you do not want to supply data to it, then you simply leave it blank. Do not remove the column or the data field from the template. Also, you want to make sure that if you're pulling or creating new SKU feeds or new product feeds from a database directly, you want to make sure that that particular section is blanked as well. The core data is positionally based, meaning that our system is going to look at the position of this data to determine what it is. So you need to make sure that if you're not using a particular data field, you leave it completely blank and never remove it. Okay, the seller SKU is your product identifier back to this product. We do not create any reports with buy.com SKUs as an output. What we do is we allow for this seller SKU field as an identifier for you to get back to this product so that you can list it for sale. The new SKU feed or the new product feed does not list products for sale. It simply gives us the product data that we need to create it in our system to make it available for sale. All the pricing, quantity, shipping fees, etc. are determined by a completely different feed called the inventory feed. So keep that in mind. When you give us the product data and we successfully process one of these new SKU or new product feeds, it simply gets that product data in our system and it sits there. So you will eventually have to come back and create an inventory feed to list those products for sale so that it will appear in the marketplace. And the seller SKU is a crucial piece of data that you'll need to list your products with. It's a crucial piece of data that you'll have in your possession, so you don't need to wait for any reports or any type of output from us to be able to list your product for sale. The next field is title. It's the product title of the item you wish to list. You have 250 characters. All the words in the title will be submitted to search. So make it meaningful and think about how your customers or how the buyers will use keyword search on our site to be able to locate your product. Description is the product description of the item that you're trying to list. It is a continuous line of text, or if you enter the data in this template, it looks like a block of text. That we don't allow for any paragraphs, no bullet points, no HTML, no carriage returns, no tabs, no special characters, just a continuous line of text that's properly punctuated and, of course, has proper grammar. Again, it'll look like a block of text, even on the website. So it's very important that you don't introduce line breaks or try to create paragraphs within this description field. It will cause this line to error. The next is the main image. Now, the main image you present, or the type, or what you input into this data field, is the absolute URL. So it starts off with HTTP and ends with .jpg for JPEG. The main image is the main product image on the product detail page. And some of the most common mistakes that sellers make about submitting an image is that they don't give us one that follows our image requirements. Some of the most common ones is featuring a product that doesn't have a completely white background, giving us an image that is actually a thumbnail. We want something that is around 500 pixels in either length or width, or larger. If you have something 1,000 by 1,000, we'll certainly take that. But the main image does have a little bit of a fudge factor, and we will allow something a little smaller than 500 by 500. But it does reduce the functionality of that image being able to be blown up into a larger one. Remember that this is very much like catalog. Customers aren't able to touch and check out your product. So the product image is very important in providing something that's sharp in detail so that the customers can verify what they're actually adding to their cart is the exact product that they want to order. So the image is very, very crucial when it comes to online selling. Now, additional images, you can add up to 4 of them. The same thing applies with one exception. The additional images need to be 500 pixels in either length or width or larger. Nothing smaller will be accepted. Additional images have a natural, the functionality behind additional images require that size, 500 pixels or larger. Again, one of the most common mistakes is that a seller doesn't have something of 500 pixels in size, so they blow up a smaller image. Well, one of our other image requirements is that the image needs to be sharp. If you blow up an image from a smaller one, it will end up being blurry. We don't provide any type of reporting to tell you whether or not these images were rejected. The only way you would find out is by looking at the site after 5 days, which is the average processing time for images, and noticing that your image is still not up there. We don't contact sellers. We don't provide any reporting. At this time, we are working on it. But if you have a rejected image today, you won't hear from us. So it's very important that you follow our image requirements. Our image requirements are part of the new product feed specifications, which is the first link under each of the product categories. So if you have any questions about what we're looking for images, certainly refer to this particular PDF. Again, anyone who is participating in today's webinar will get emailed to that link. Now, I said we could add up to 4 additional images. So how do we separate the URL since you're going to enter all 4 of those URLs in one data field? We have this character called the pipe. It looks like an L, but it's an up and down character. If you look at your enter key on your keyboard, look to the upper left, the immediate upper left, you'll see the backslash key. To get the pipe character, it's shift plus backslash. And you're to use that as a separator between the image URLs for additional images. There's only one main image, but you can add up to 4 additional images. This is what it looks like. So if you have URL 1.jpg, and then URL 2.jpg. So as you can see, I use the pipe character, which I'll bold, and it doesn't come out very well in bold. But I use the pipe character to separate the URLs. There is no space before or after the pipe character. The next data field is weight. Weight is a numeric field only. You don't need to put LB, LBS, or any other weight indicator. It's just a numeric field. We're assuming in pounds. So if you have something that's a half a pound, it'll be 0.5. If you have something that's 3 pounds, for example, it'll just be 3 or 3.0. The next data field is features. Now, features are the bullet pointed sentences you see on the product detail page. Very much like the additional URLs, each feature sentence that you include here will be separated by the pipe character. So you have like a feature 1 pipe, feature 2 pipe, feature 3. There's no space before or after the features. You do not need to include any bullet points or any type of numbering of your features. Our page is already coded to automatically add those bullet points. Okay. Again, the pipe character is used to separate those feature sentences, very much like additional images. Now the next 2 fields, listing price and MSRP. Now listing price is not the sell price of your product by definition. The sell price of your product is not determined by the new product feed, as I discussed earlier. The new product feed, all it does is give us the product data that we need to create that product in our system. This listing price and MSRP are actually the same pieces of data. It's the full retail price of your product. So these two fields should have the exact same data. An example of what a full retail price is, for example, Canon has a camera that they sell for $500, that they have a full retail price of $500. You as a retailer says, well, I don't want to sell at full retail. I'm going to sell it for $450. So the $450, what actually is actually the sell price, and it will go in a completely different feed, which is the inventory feed. The $500 will go here in both fields, the listing price and the MSRP, as the full retail price. These two are numeric fields only. You do not need to put the dollar sign in here. We're going to assume that these are going to be currency. The next data field is category ID, and we're going to come back to that because it ties in with the attribute data in this area. The attribute data, of course, has column titles that are not bolded. Next data field is keywords. Now, the keywords should be above and beyond what you've presented in your product title, or your title, what we're calling the title field. The reason being is all the words included in the title are already injected into our search. To simply cut up your title and put them as keywords in this field will do nothing. Another important piece of information to keep in mind is that we may or may not use your keywords. We've had some problems with keywords as in relationship to our search results. There are a lot of sellers wanting to bring attention to their products by using keywords that aren't even related to their products. So, for example, we have a seller that is selling desk lamps, and they want to manipulate our search so every time someone types in iPhone, their desk lamp will pop up. Well, you multiply that by over 5,000 sellers doing the same thing or close to it, and you get search results that are no longer meaningful. Product management made the decision to say we're going to have to approve any keyword submissions, and it's at their discretion on whether or not they're going to use them. It is not a required field, so you don't need to supply data for us, since the title already has probably those keywords that are mostly used to find your products on other sites, or if you have your own e-commerce site as well. So again, keywords may or may not be used. You determine how much time you want to spend on them knowing that fact. Again, it's not a required field. Now the product set ID, one of the reasons why I chose clothes and shoes for our example or for our webinar here is because the product set ID is a big part of clothes and shoes. It does not apply to all our categories. The product set ID, what it does is it groups like products or like styles together. Buy.com does not have a parent-child relationship. So you will have to list in different rows each color and size. Those color and sizes could belong to a family of products or a certain style that only differs in color and size, as an example. Now, since we don't have a parent-child relationship, we use the product set ID to group those like products together onto a single web page that uses, in our example, size and color options to choose the correct size and color that the buyer is looking for. Now, every product within the style should have the same product set ID. The product set ID is an alphanumeric field, and every product that has the same product set ID will get grouped onto the same page. Now, between styles, the product set ID should be different because you don't want to combine two different styles onto one product page. So let's say that you've accidentally used the product set ID for T-shirts and shorts, board shorts. You'll get board shorts and T-shirts onto the same page, and That is not the proper use of product set ID. The T-shirts, in our example, the T-shirts should have their own product set ID, and the board shorts should have their own product set ID based on the style. You could also have two different styles of T-shirts, and you don't want to commingle those together. So it's very important to manage that product set ID very carefully, to keep track of them, because you don't want to use a product set ID that you've already used for another product for something that's different. And you also want to make sure that if you're using or planning to utilize the product set ID functionality, you need to make sure that the category has what we call a variant attribute. And all a variant attribute is an attribute like color, where it has variable values, red, blue, green, violet, indigo. If a category does not have a variant attribute, then you cannot use the product set ID. If you do, what happens is you'll group those products together. Search will randomly pick one of those products to display when someone is looking for it. But when you actually go into the product page, you'll only get one of those products. The rest of those products that you group together will not appear, nor will they become accessible for the seller to find. The variant attribute, like size and color, don't exist. There's nothing for them to choose. So what you've actually done inadvertently is hide the rest of your products within that style. So it's very important to check whether or not that particular category has variant attributes for you to use so that you can utilize the product ID functionality to group like styles together on a single product page. I'll show you how to recognize which categories do not and do have variant attributes as we go into the category ID and the attribute and attribute values. Now, on this page, it's the wrong page, but that's what I wanted. If you click this category attribute link, then you'll get this PDF. Now, this PDF has, to the left of it, the category ID. It's an all numerical value. And this category ID is used to populate the category ID field. So, for example, if we're adding a product to belts, we have a product ID of 0044 or just 44. To the right of the category name are all the attributes that are associated with belts. If you wanted to, you can add data for all of these. Now, if you look in our category of belts, we have 4 attributes that have brackets around them. The squared off brackets means that that attribute is required. So if an attribute does not have any square brackets surrounding it, that means it's an optional field for you to put data in. Now, if you notice, some of these attributes also have squiggly brackets in addition to the squared off ones. Those squiggly brackets are variant attributes. So if you want to use the product ID, the product set ID functionality to group your products together, then you could do so, because belts, for example, has a variant attribute. So does belt buckles. Color has the squiggly brackets around it. So again, the squiggly brackets mean that this particular attribute is a variant attribute, and it is also required. Not all attributes are variant attributes, and not all attributes are required. So if you want to, so if you're maybe pressed for time a little bit, and you don't want to fill out all this product data, you at least have to fill out what's required, which are these 4 in our example. All the rest are optional. Obviously, the more product data you add, the more benefit you're going to get from our search. So do keep that in mind. So now that we recognize, okay, these are my my required attributes, what values am I supposed to put in them? Well, the second part of this taxonomy, what we call the taxonomy categories, specifically for clothes and shoes, deals with attributes. So if you actually scroll down, you'll notice that the category and attributes section ends, and we get down to the specific attributes and their values. So in our belt buckle example, we're going to look for the attribute of color. They are all in alphabetical order. So I'm going to scroll down here, and color. So I found my attribute, and it's right here in color to the left. And to the right of it, well, there's no values, but there is something said about the color attribute. It says enter any string value. That means I could use anything that I want to describe what I believe the color, I as a seller believe the color to be. So indigo, violet, mauve, can all be used, even though they're variations of green and blue and purple. And but you could put what you call that color description to be. That's what it means to enter any string value. Now, the other attribute is color class. So if we look at color class, we'll notice that there are predetermined values for color class. Start off with beige, and continue on to the next page and end in plaid. Now to the right of color classes is choose one or more of the following values. That means if you have a shoe, for example, that has black and blue in it, you could enter black and blue in the data field. But they need to be separated by what we call a caret. Okay, here's what I mean. So let's look for color class, which is right here. And let's say I want to add blue and black. So those are my attribute values that I chose from the list. If it doesn't exist on the list, you cannot use it. This character here is called, is what we call the caret. It looks like an upside down V. To get that separator or caret, you need to hit the Shift and 6 button. If you look at your keyboard, you'll see the symbol there. It's the upside down V looking character. It works in functionality very much similar to the pipe character for our features and additional images. However, it's good to keep in mind that if you need something as a separator, for the core data, it's always a pipe. For attribute data, it's always this upside down V character or what we call the caret. Okay. And in our example, we wanted to enter blue and black because we have a shoe that has blue and black in it. So we entered blue, caret black, no spaces before or after the blue, before or after the caret. Okay. So what have we done here? This is sort of the process that you need to take in filling out the data for your new product that you plan to add to the Buy.com product catalog. You determine, okay, I'm adding a product. What category is it in? I want to look at this sheet here, find my category. In our example, it's belts. I'm going to include 044 or just 44 as the category ID. Now I need to figure out what attributes apply to that category and then go back to my sheet and see, oh, okay, I have all these attributes that apply to my category, but I'm only going to fill out the required ones. So I'm going to look at each one of these attributes to determine if at all what attribute values am I to use. So I go down to color and I see, oh, okay, I can enter any string value. I'm going to use mauve or fuchsia or indigo. And then, oh, here's color class. Well, I have to choose one or two more of these following values. And I need to separate them by the tilde. So this is the sort of process you have to go through in creating your product. Okay. So once you have completed, and I do recommend a smaller new product feed to start if you're using the template or even if you're pulling the data directly from a database. I would not go maybe beyond 10 new products on any one particular new product feed to start off with. You could, and it is a possibility, and you have the freedom to add thousands of products on your first new product feed, but it does make fixing the corrections a little more challenging than dealing with a set of new SKU feed, new product feed with only 10 products in it. Once you've gotten accustomed to the process and creating a new product feed, then you can go and list the rest of your catalog onto the sheet. Now, once you've filled out the data, and this is specific for those sellers who are going to use the Excel spreadsheet, we do not process the Excel spreadsheet itself. We provide the template for the new product feed as an Excel file for easier data entry, but we don't actually process that Excel file. You need to convert the Excel file into a flat file, very specifically a tab-delimited text file. Now, how do you do that? Well, you want to go up to your Save As function in Excel. This pop-up will appear. And if you notice here, there's a Save As Type drop-down menu. There's a lot of files to choose from. The one that we're specifically looking for, and this one that we specifically use for all our data feeds here at Buy.com, not just the new product feed, is the Text Tab Delimited. Okay. So you want to make sure that selection is chosen. And then put the appropriate name and click Save. You'll see this pop-up here. Just click OK. You'll see another pop-up. Click Yes. And now we've saved our Excel template as a text tab delimited file. You'll see a file extension of .txt at the very end to verify that you've successfully converted your Excel file into a text tab delimited one. You would then send that to mp-integration at Buy.com for processing. Or you could also send it to our launch site if you're a seller that's currently in integration. We do not allow the upload of new product feeds to start off with. We want to see if you, the sellers, are able to create these new product feeds without any errors, and we also need to look at the content that you're providing to us. Buy.com takes product content very seriously, from the images to the text describing the product. We want to make sure that that you're providing the best data as possible. There have been some sellers in the past that have not taken very precautious measures. As a result, we created tens of thousands of new products in our system that has an incorrect UPC, an incorrect title, incorrect image, incorrect manufacturer part number. Does that affect you? Well, if that seller has already added that product to our system and things are incorrect with it, meaning that they did provide us the data and we're not going to verify that the particular data corresponds to a very specific product, then you need to make sure that you're very careful. Okay, so we need to make sure that the product data that's coming in is good to prevent any future mismatches when people go back to list products for sale. Remember, you're providing product content not only for the products that you want to add, but these could also be products that other sellers might have, and they will be using your product content to list those products against. So we want to make sure that we have good matches in order to reduce any customer service contacts as possible. Okay. So that about covers the template, and I'm going to open up the webinar for questions now.